Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Cloud by V. My name is Virender. Now, in this particular section, Fox, we are going to talk about what is fine tuning of large language models, or we call it as the foundations model, right? We are talking about Amazon Web Services foundation models, and in this particular practical demonstration, we are going to see how practically with the help of AWS Management Console, we can fine tune our large language models or our foundation models. Before that, kindly like this particular video if you like the video, and please watch the entire video because we are going to do the theory as well as the practical demonstration in this particular section. Also, please subscribe my YouTube channel and also share with it your friends who are learning the machine learning on AWS or generative AI on AWS. This video will give you an end-to-end knowledge how you can fine tune your large language models and the foundation models which are available in the Amazon Web Services. Now, if we talk about what is fine tuning of large language models, so we can call it as like fine tuning is basically a technique. Fine tuning is basically a technique so that we can train a particular model using proprietary or domain specific data. What does that mean? Suppose there is an X foundation models which is trained on manufacturing industry data, and we have the data which is related to the media and entertainment industry. Now, what we do, we will take this X foundation model or large language model, and we will add in this particular large language model the data set which we have related to the media and entertainment industry. Now, it will give us a particular fine-tuned new model. The model will be the same, the X model will be the same, but now the X model will have the capabilities of media and entertainment industry as well as manufacturing industry. Now, this is what is your fine tuning of the large language models or the foundation models. Why we are doing this? We are doing this because to improve the output quality of that particular foundation model, and if we want domain relevant results or domain specific results, because if there is a foundation model which is named as X having the data set which is related to the manufacturing industry, and our domain is related to the media and entertainment industry, and we want the output from that foundation model related to the media and entertainment industry. So what we can do, we can fine tune that particular model. That means we are providing more specific information from a particular domain perspective of media and entertainment, and we will give that data set information to this particular foundation model so that this foundation model will have both the capabilities of the domains like media entertainment and the manufacturing industry. This is what is the definition of the fine tuning large language models or the foundations models. Now, in this particular use case, what will happen? We will have the proprietary data which is related to the media and entertainment industry. In our case, the data is related to the media and entertainment industry. We have some data set, we have some important information, and that data set should be in the JSON format. That is what you have to keep in your mind. If you have a data or you want to use that data to train or you fine tune your foundation model, then the data should be in the JSON format. Now we will give that particular data set to the pre-trained LLM model, the pre-trained large language model. In our case, suppose Cohere is a foundation model available in AWS. So we will give that particular data set information of the media and entertainment data set in the form of JSON to this particular Cohere large language model in such a way that we will be fine tune this particular foundation model. And what will happen at the end of the day, then the original model the parameters of this particular original model will be updated during the training job. While this foundation model is being trained, the original LLM model, the parameters of this original LLM model will be updated. Why these are the updated? Because you are providing an external data information, an external data set to already being created. A foundation model is available in the AWS, and we are using that foundation model, and we are providing an external information to this foundation model. So while the training job will be done, the original parameters is going to be updated. And now if you will provide any type of prompt to this foundation model, you will get more accurate result and more domain specific result. We are going to get domain specific results. We are going to get, sorry for the spelling mistake, specific results we will be getting because of the parameters updation. This is what the architecture looks like of fine tuning a large language model. Getting my point, folks? Right now, while you are doing this particular thing as a customer, a question may arise in your mind that if I'm going to, you know, adopting the particular service which is named as Amazon Bedrock service, and if I'm using Amazon Bedrock service to fine tune the large language models, then as a customer, I may have some concerns, I may have some questions in my mind, and those questions should be, the first question should be that to the access to the data customer, right? So the data which I'm having as a customer and the data which I'm going to use to fine tune the particular model, what will happen with that particular data? Who can access that particular data? Me as a customer can access that particular data, or anyone from the internet will able to access that particular data. And after I will fine tune that particular model, who is gonna access to that particular fine tuned model? So AWS says that the information which you are having will be, maybe you will be the only person who can access that particular data set which you are having, and the access to this foundation model or the fine-tuned model will also even only will have will, like, you will be the only person who will have the access to the foundation model. You will be the only person who has the access to the data set, and you will be only the person who has all the accessibility of all types of data sets and the fine-tuned model. As a customer, no one apart from you will able to access the information you are giving to the AWS as a customer, your data set, and no one will able to access that particular foundation model and that specific domain relevant information which you have given to that foundation model. No one will able to access that particular information. Now, how this architecture will looks like, right? So we have couple of options available by which we can do that particular task. First, we can do this with the help of AWS Lambda, which is again, uh, which is an event-driven serverless service by which, with the help of Python SDK or different SDKs, software development kits, you can create functions and you can store your data and you can integrate that AWS Lambda with Amazon Bedrock service so that you will be able to upload that particular information. You can use AWS console directly and you can use AWS CLI as well. So there are three options available. Now, what will happen? The very first task, that whatever the information you are having with you, you will provide that information to the AWS. Suppose this is the architecture of the AWS side. In that, we will have two types of accounts over here. One is the AWS Bedrock service account, and one will be the provider's account or the customer's account. Let me write over here. So the first account will be your AWS Bedrock service account, in which you are going to put that particular data set with the help of Amazon Bedrock service. And second, you will have the customer account from which you are going to give that particular data or from which you can access the particular data set and the particular fine-tuned model. Once you provide that information from these particular options available, suppose if you are choosing AWS Lambda or maybe from the directly to from the AWS console, that information will be sent to the Amazon Bedrock service. And here you will have two options available. The first option will be known as runtime inference. Runtime runtime inference is available, and the second option is available over here is the prompt history. So the first, your data will go in the runtime inference, and then you will be having a prompt history as well, which can be accessible via only from the AWS management console. Now, once you provide the data to the Amazon Bedrock service, that information will directly send to Amazon Bedrock service, which is also inside your account as well, right? This is the Amazon Bedrock service account itself, where the data should pass through it, and then data should be travel from this to access or maybe to reach in your account Amazon Bedrock. And now over here, with the help of one AWS storage service named as AWS S3, you will have two types of buckets of S3 available over here. The first bucket is related to the data set in which you can store the data set which you are going to use to fine tune your model. And second bucket should be for the fine-tuned model itself. Once you store the data set in this Amazon S3 bucket number one, from there, this Amazon Bedrock is going to be fetch the data to fine-tune the particular model when you create a training job, and then whatever the information will be updated inside that particular fine-tuned model will be sent to the simple storage service bucket number two. This is how the entire architecture will look like. Over here, you may have question about this runtime inference and about this prompt history as well. Prompt history is nothing but whatever the prompts you have done so far inside that foundation model are the prompt history of the customer. And this runtime inference is basically used to redirect to the right model endpoint based on the API request. And then at the end, we have the fine-tuned model, which is the model is trained using the custom label dataset to generate the fine-tuned model basically, right? Now how we can do that? For doing that, we should go to the AWS management console. But before moving towards the AWS management console, we should understand about some parameters over here. Some parameters which we are going to face while we will be doing this fine-tune job. First, parameters are internal to the model. So whatever the model you are going to use, that model will have some parameters, and those parameters are basically internal to that particular model. So one parameter may have the different capabilities, right? Then those parameters will be updated during the training process. So while this training process will be happen, the parameters will be updated during the training process. Then you will be facing some hyper parameters. These hyper parameters are external to the model, which means these are not the internal part of the model. These are some external to the models which are specified by the customer depending on the use cases. And these hyper parameters will be specified by the developers and the scientists of that particular organizations. So what are the different hyper parameters are available and what are the different parameters are available while we are fine tune a particular model? So in if we talk about the hyperparameters, the first hyperparameter we will be seeing as named as the sample hyperparameter. Sample hyperparameter means if you have 100 lines of data or 100 lines of JSON data set, so the one line or one row of that data will be considered as a sample. One row of data will be considered as a sample of the data set. Now we have a terminology named as dataset. Dataset is basically the total number of training samples we have. Total number of training samples we have, which means one sample is equal to one row of data. If you have 100 rows of data, that means the 100 rows is equal to the one data set, which means we can say that one data set is having 100 multiple rows. Then we have some batch size terminology. Batch size means the total number of training samples in each mini batch we have. That means suppose if one batch size is having 20 training samples, which means one sample is equal to one row of data, 20 sample is equal to 20 rows of data. And if this data set size is equal to 100, then which that means, and if we talk about batch size is 20, that means we can say that 5 data sets are included inside this particular batch size. Then we have something called as epoch. Epoch is basically when an entire data set is running, one we will say that one epoch cycle is complete when one entire data set runs. Now, if we have 100 data sets, which means 100 lines of rows we have, if one row is running, that means one epoch is completed. So one cycle is completed, and then we have the learning rate, which shows the capability and which shows the rate at which the model parameters are updating after each batch is of training data is basically running. So if batch size is 20, so first batch is running, that means 20 data set is are running, and that's the learning rate of that particular model. So the parameters are updated after each batch of training data is running. On which rate these parameters are updating, that is what is related to the learning rate. Now let's move towards the particular AWS management console, and you can see I am in the Amazon Bedrock service. That is the easiest way to build and scale generative AI applications with the help of the different foundations models. If you click on these three lines over here, and if you scroll down over here, you can see multiple options are available over here. But if you click on this custom model over here, you can see that you can create your own model and you can test this particular model, and then you can use this custom model. So whether you have to decide the custom model type you want to create, if you either you want to create a fine tuning job, that means already we have the foundation models, and then we want to train that foundation model on another data set related to the another domain, that is known as the fine tuning or continued pre-training as well. I will talk about this continued pre-training as well in a couple of seconds. Then you can test your custom model. Once you create this particular model, that model will be available in these playgrounds. Then you can test that particular model and you can use your model for the inference in your application, or maybe you can perform the experiment while using these Amazon Bedrock playgrounds. If you scroll down over here, you will be able to see that we have multiple options are available. Multiple options are available over here, in which we have the model and we have the job option available over here. So if you click on this customized model, you have both of the options available. You can create a fine tuning job, and you have option to create continued pre-training job. We are going to do the fine tuning job over here. Now the very first task is that we have to select a foundation model over here. Choose from the list of models are available inside that we wish to customize with using our own data. So we have multiple models are available inside Amazon Bedrock service. If you click on this particular select model option over here, you will able to see the different foundation models are available over here. A foundation model is nothing but a large language model which is already being pre-trained on the different data sets. For an example, we are taking this Cohere Foundation model command line we are using. We want to basically fine tune this command line, and the model name should be demo fine tuning we are performing. Okay, demo fine tuning we are doing, and we are going to perform this fine tuning of this Cohere light foundation model right over here. Now, the next step, folks, we have is the job configuration. We should provide a job name so that this name will be helped to identify the training job. which is very necessary to pre-train and create a new model. Suppose we are giving name as demo fine tuning job we are giving over here. Now you can see we have the option available to input the data. We should choose a file in our simple storage service, and the file you choose must be in the dataset format. That should be in the JSON format, and that the model needs for the training. The information or the dataset which you are having with you, which you want to use to fine tune your foundation model, in our case that is Cohere foundation model. So you can store that particular data in the JSON format in AWS simple storage service in your account. And once you store that particular data set in simple storage service, from this option you will be able to choose the Amazon S3 bucket from your account, right? So if we click on this browse S3, you can see there are different buckets available inside my particular S3 bucket. Suppose I am choosing this bucket encrypt. I am not able to select a particular bucket because these are not in the JSON format, or maybe let's just open this bucket and suppose this image I want to choose. And this is the validation dataset S3 location, which you can use to validate the information which you are providing to your particular foundation model, which you are fine tuning. If not, then this option is only optional option. You can leave this option as default. So no issues in that. Once you're done with that, you have the hyperparameters available. As we have discussed, we have the APOC, that is the total number of iterations of the training data. The one cycle for the training the model, that is by default selected to 1, and you can select it between 1 and 100. The batch size, the total number of samples are processed before the model parameters are updated. The learning rate has given over here, and the early stopping threshold is also given over here. That is the minimum amount of time or the minimum amount of validation loss improvement required to continue training the model. If something happens in between, then it will take this amount of time to continue the training the model. Early stopping patients will also have this number of epochs to wait for an improvement with validation loss stopping the training. So what will happen if the validation loss improvement has not reached the early stopping threshold within the patient's period? That means it's my patient's time, the training will be stopped automatically. Okay. Then we have some output data storage location as well. Where do you want to store the output data which is provided from the input data? Whatever the output data will be stored inside that another S3 location, you can choose that as well. And you just need to choose an maybe existing role, or you can create a new service role as well with the help of this service Amazon Bedrock behalf of yourself. Now one thing to remember over here, if you just click on this create fine tuning job, once you click on that create fine tuning job, you must purchase the provision throughput to use the fine tuning model. That means if you go a little bit below and if you click on this provision throughput, you need to purchase provision throughput. That means you are not going to build on pay as you go pricing model. Else what will happen? You have to pay a per hour charges if you are using Cohere light model, and maybe you are committing for 1 month that I will be using for 1 month, only one model unit I will be using for 1 month. That will be estimated hourly cost, and that will be estimated daily cost you will have to bear if you use that particular model to fine tune. So I'm not going to do the fine tuning as of now in the custom models we will be creating. Otherwise, I will be built by the AWS. So that is the entire process box. That is how we can fine tune our models with the help of Amazon Bedrock and with the help of simple storage service to store the data set which we having. I hope everything is clear to all of you and you will be able to understand that how we can create a fine tuning job basically. So if everything is clear to all of you, then you may hit the like button and you can subscribe the channel, and you can comment out if you have any questions and any doubts you have in your mind or any suggestions related to the channel and the content. You're most welcome in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video and have a good day, folks.